Spoilers for the beginning of Attack on Titan Season 4 ahead. Please, please, please don't get spoiled. Thanks. Sasageo, Sasageo, and Sasageo. Man, that's some good fucking food. As I'm sure that most of you know, Attack on Titan, aka AOT, aka Shingeki no Kyojin, has absolutely been popping off as of recently. In a season where there seems to be a never-ending barrage of fantastic shows, Attack on Titan has somehow come out of it looking like it's just built differently. It's the king of this winter season, and every episode is seemingly built upon the hype of the previous ones. That is, until episode 65, when on that day, the CGI attacked. Basement dwellers read, K-pop stans screamed. It was the downfall of a once great show, and the masses were out for the blood of those responsible. And by those responsible, I mean making fun of hardworking professionals who make little to no money to produce the thing that we all love. But whatever. Despite this, I think it's an interesting topic to bring up. And no, I don't mean people hurting each other's feelings, but the reason behind why everyone got out their pitchforks in the first place. Let's say, hypothetically, that you hear that your favorite show is going to be using CGI. How does that make you feel? For most, it isn't uncommon to drop to your knees and ask a higher power about what you did to deserve this. Anime fans have learned to avoid this stuff like the plague, and honestly, for good reason. They have been burned again and again by mediocre adaptations of their favorite stories, and when you see that your show's getting the CG treatment, you may as well throw in the towel right there. However, I feel like a lot of this hate comes from a lack of knowledge of why it exists and what the hell CGI even is. So, let's ask the question, why use CGI in the first place? Alright, so imagine that I wanted to draw this really awesome, detailed character. And then I do it, right? Looking clean. However, I want this character to come to life. We need to breathe life into him through animation. Unfortunately, one single drawing isn't going to cut it. This character needs to move, it needs to do something. So then I would draw him again, and again. Every single individual frame. I am having to redraw this stupid character with ever so slight adjustments to it, yet each change requires an entirely new drawing, consuming an ungodly amount of time. Now, say that I don't want to go through that personal hell. Luckily, the creation of CGI makes the entire process so much easier and more time efficient. Instead of redrawing the entire thing, I already have the model built out, so with a few adjustments here and there, we are good to go. Obviously, this is an oversimplified example of an extremely complicated subject, but I feel like it gets the point across pretty well. Now, your next question may be something along the lines of, okay, Nick, sure, it saves time, but it still looks like shit. And you know, in most situations, I would probably have to agree with you. As of right now, I think most people would concur that the CGI being pumped out just can't compare to good old hand-drawn frames. I would argue that this isn't because CGI just inherently looks worse, however. Moving a model around instead of drawing each individual change in movement is substantially quicker, and anime studios are often on extremely strict deadlines. Because of this, you can imagine that the use of CG models is often a way to actually be able to finish your job and get paid. As such, a lot of CGI in the anime industry is being used to save time, and because of this, isn't always given the care and attention it needs to actually look good. And yes, I promise you that it can actually be done well. Look no further than some of your favorite Disney movies, which use CGI to an excellent effect while creating some amazing pieces of animation. Good stuff also exists in anime as well. No, not you. Hoseki no Kuni and, more recently, Dorohedoro are both shining examples of how CGI can be handled both properly and spectacularly within an anime. Dorohedoro is an interesting case, as the backgrounds and art are drawn in traditional 2D, while the characters and most of the moving parts are CG. Normally, you would think that this would create some mindfuckery whenever you have two clashing ideas on the same screen. However, you can tell a ton of time and effort was put into these models, making them fit into the world they are inhabiting, melding the 2D and 3D elements, and as such, the end product actually looks pretty good. Despite this, the issue of making these 3D figures fit into a 2D world is generally what ends up hurting the show in the end. Not all shows are like Dorohedoro, so a lot of CGI generally comes out half-baked due to time constraints, and because of this, the models lack a lot of detail compared to the rest of the show. This lack of detail tends to stick out like a sore thumb in a lot of situations, and can really throw the viewer for a loop whenever they look at it. It can take the viewer out of the moment, and I feel like this is what a lot of AOT fans were expressing their disappointment about in the recent episodes. Throughout all 60 episodes of the previous seasons, we have come to grow really close to the main cast of characters. Or the ones who are still alive. But anyway, we have come to associate these characters and their personalities with their 2D appearances. However, when you see something coming closer and closer in the background, it's using 3D maneuver gear, kinda looks weird, wonder what it is. Holy shit, it's Jean! Having practically two versions of the same character, one that looks like this and one that looks like this, can be hella confusing. And although it may not be that big of a deal in hindsight, even the smallest of things can break a viewer's immersion when watching a show. The models don't even look that bad in my opinion, but it's that little curveball that sends the viewer reeling. On the other hand, you have a show like Dorohedoro, who doesn't run into this problem because the characters are CG. Now, some of you may be thinking, yeah, no shit, I have eyes. But I promise that's not what I mean. There is no identity crisis or multiple versions of these characters. These CG models are what you come to know and grow attached to. You know what to expect and you get used to it as you continue to watch the show. The consistency of the characters is something that makes the viewer comfortable, and when you start mixing things up, things might not be daijobu. Anyways, those are some of my thoughts. It's a really hard subject to touch on with all the differing opinions, especially because none of them are necessarily wrong. There's a reason why it's among the 3 things not to bring up on a first date. Now, do I think that people have a reason to wonder what the hell is up? Yeah, I think that is totally fair. However, I genuinely believe that Studio Mappa has been doing a phenomenal job so far in the final season of Attack on Titan, and probably deserves a nice long hug. The CG Titans look way better than the CG Titan we got in the previous season, and the directing has been absolutely top tier up until this point. I am super excited to keep watching and see where the story goes from here, and I genuinely hope that you all are as well. That is, as long as they stop killing my characters.